Imagine being swept off your feet by someone who seems to adore you, who listens to your every word, and makes you feel like you're the only person in the world, only to discover that it's all a carefully crafted illusion, a tactic to lure you into a cult. It's a phenomenon known as love bombing, and it's a powerful tool used by cults to trap intelligent, unsuspecting people. The Unification Church, also known as the Moonies, founded by Sun Myung Moon in 1954 in Seoul, South Korea, is a prime example of an organization that has employed love bombing to recruit and retain members. Let's take a step back and try to understand how this works. Cults have been around for centuries, and they've developed sophisticated methods to recruit and retain members. One of the most effective techniques is love bombing, a process where cult members shower a potential recruit with excessive attention and affection. This can be overwhelming, especially for people who are vulnerable or seeking a sense of belonging. For instance, in the 1970s, the Moonies would often use love bombing to recruit new members on college campuses, targeting students who were looking for a sense of community and purpose. New recruits would be showered with attention, flattery, and emotional support, making them feel like they'd finally found a sense of purpose and belonging. But as time went on, they'd be slowly drawn into the church's inner circle, where they'd be subjected to intense indoctrination and control. It's interesting to note that cults often target intelligent, educated people. You might think that these individuals would be less susceptible to cult recruitment, but the opposite is often true. Intelligent people are often more curious, more open to new ideas, and more willing to challenge the status quo. Cults prey on these traits, using love bombing to create a sense of connection and shared purpose. Dr. Margaret Singer, a renowned cult expert, has written extensively on the topic of love bombing. According to her, cults use love bombing to create a sense of euphoria, a feeling of being high on attention and affection. This can be incredibly addictive, especially for people who are lonely or seeking validation. As Singer notes, the cult member is made to feel special, unique, and valued, and this feeling is often accompanied by a sense of excitement and euphoria. But what happens when the love bombing stops? When the cult's true intentions are revealed, and the recruit is expected to conform to the group's norms and values? That's when the real manipulation begins. Cults use a variety of techniques to control their members, including emotional manipulation, gaslighting, and isolation. They might also use more coercive methods, such as physical punishment or financial exploitation. The case of the Manson family, led by Charles Manson, is a chilling example of how cults can use love bombing and manipulation to control their members. In the 1960s, Manson used love bombing to recruit a group of young, vulnerable women, who were drawn to his charismatic personality and promises of a utopian community. However, once they were under his control, he used emotional manipulation and coercion to keep them in line. Let's take a closer look at the psychological dynamics at play. When someone is love-bombed, their brain is flooded with dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and reward. This can create a powerful emotional connection, one that's difficult to break. At the same time, the cult is often using other tactics to undermine the recruit's sense of identity and autonomy. They might encourage the person to cut ties with friends and family, or to question their own values and beliefs. This is where the concept of cognitive dissonance comes in. Cognitive dissonance refers to the feeling of discomfort or tension that arises when we hold two conflicting beliefs or values. Cults often create cognitive dissonance in their recruits, forcing them to choose between their old life and their new one. As the recruit becomes more deeply embroiled in the cult, they may begin to experience a sense of dissonance, a feeling that something is not quite right. But the cult is always there to reassure them, to tell them that they're just being paranoid or that they need to let go of their old self. This is where the work of psychologist Leon Festinger comes in. In his 1957 book, A Theory of Cognitive Dissonance, Festinger explains how people tend to reduce dissonance by changing their attitudes or behaviors to match their new circumstances. In the case of cult recruits, this means adopting the cult's ideology and values, even if it means abandoning their old life and relationships. It's a clever tactic, really. By creating a sense of cognitive dissonance, the cult can manipulate the recruit into conforming to their norms and values. And once the recruit has committed to the cult, it's often difficult for them to leave. They may feel a sense of shame or guilt, or they may be afraid of being ostracized by the group. The story of Elizabeth Smart, who was kidnapped by the cult-like organization led by Brian David Mitchell in 2002, is a harrowing example of how cults can use love bombing and manipulation to control their members. Smart was held captive for 9 months, during which time she was subjected to physical and emotional abuse. However, she has spoken publicly about how Mitchell used love bombing and manipulation to try to control her, making her feel guilty for not loving him and trying to escape. So, how can we protect ourselves from love bombing and cult recruitment? One of the most important things is to be aware of the tactics that cults use. If someone is showering you with excessive attention and affection, it's essential to take a step back and assess the situation. Ask yourself if this person is genuinely interested in getting to know you, or if they're just trying to manipulate you. It's also important to maintain a sense of critical thinking and skepticism. Don't be afraid to question someone's motives or to challenge their beliefs. And if you find yourself feeling overwhelmed or uncomfortable, don't hesitate to seek help. Talk to a trusted friend or family member, or seek out professional counseling. As we delve deeper into the world of cults and love bombing, it's clear that these groups are masters of psychological manipulation. They use a variety of tactics to recruit and retain members, from love bombing to emotional manipulation. But by being aware of these tactics, we can protect ourselves and our loved ones from the clutches of cults. The work of cult experts like Dr. Singer and Dr. Robert J. Lifton has been instrumental in helping us understand the tactics used by cults. Their research has shown that cults often use a combination of love bombing, emotional manipulation, and coercion to control their members. As we navigate the complex world of cults and love bombing, it's essential to stay vigilant, to stay informed, and to stay critical. We must be aware of the tactics that cults use, and we must be willing to challenge their beliefs and practices. We must also be supportive of those who have been affected by cults, and we must work to create a society that is resilient to the manipulative tactics of cults. The story of love bombing is a fascinating and terrifying one, a reminder that even the most intelligent, the most educated, and the most skeptical among us can fall prey to the tactics of cults. It's a sobering thought, really. The idea that someone can be so thoroughly manipulated, so completely controlled, is a frightening one. But it's also a reminder of the power of human psychology, and the importance of being aware of our own vulnerabilities. As we conclude this journey into the world of love bombing, we're left with a haunting question: what happens to those who are trapped in the grasp of a cult, and how can we help them escape? The answer, much like the cults themselves, remains shrouded in mystery, leaving us with a lasting sense of unease and a deep-seated fear of the unknown. The story of love bombing serves as a warning. A reminder of the dangers of cults and the importance of being aware of their tactics. It's a story that highlights the need for critical thinking, skepticism, and awareness. As we move forward, it's essential that we stay informed, that we stay vigilant, and that we stay critical. We must be aware of the tactics used by cults, and we must be willing to challenge their beliefs and practices. Only by doing so can we protect ourselves and our loved ones from the clutches of cults, and only by doing so can we create a society that is resilient to the manipulative tactics of cults. In the end, it's not just about protecting ourselves from cults, it's about protecting our very sense of self. It's about being aware of our own vulnerabilities, and it's about being willing to challenge the status quo. It's about staying informed, staying vigilant, and staying critical. And it's about creating a society that values critical thinking, skepticism, and awareness. As we move forward, let's remember the story of love bombing, and let's stay vigilant. Let's stay informed, and let's stay critical. For it's only by doing so that we can protect ourselves, our loved ones, and our society from the dangers of cults.